Start with the latest on the Israel-Gaza war. President Biden has said he hopes a ceasefire in Gaza could start at the beginning of next week. He says Israel has agreed in principle not to carry out military activities against Hamas in the Gaza Strip during Ramadan, which starts in 2 weeks. The Reuters news agency says Hamas has received a draft proposal from Gaza truce talks in Paris, which includes a 40-day pause in all military operations and the exchange of Palestinian prisoners for Israeli hostages at the ratio of 10 to 1. Here's the US president speaking late on Monday.
Can you give us a sense of when you think that ceasefire will start, sir?
Well, I hope by the beginning of the weekend. The end of the weekend. At least my national security advisor tells me that we're close. We're close. It's not done yet. And my hope is by next Monday we'll have a ceasefire.
Well, in the hours after that statement, President Biden appeared on Late Night with Seth Meyers on NBC, where he made those comments about Israel agreeing in principle not to engage in military activities in the Gaza Strip during the Muslim holy month of Ramadan. Mr. Biden said such a commitment would allow the hostages being held by Hamas to be released. As we said, negotiations for a temporary ceasefire continue. Israel and Hamas have been holding so-called proximity talks in Qatar. There are reports that 400 Palestinian prisoners serving sentences for terror-related crimes could be exchanged for 40 female and elderly Israeli hostages. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has vowed to go ahead with an assault on Gaza's southernmost city of Rafah, regardless of any agreement. Our Middle East correspondent Yolan Nell is in Jerusalem and shared this update on what we know about a possible ceasefire.
Definitely the most positive comments that we've had yet, those ones from President Biden, although even he said, my national security advisor tells me we're close, we're not there yet. We know, of course, that US negotiators have been pushing for some kind of pause for hostages deal to start before the Islamic holy month of Ramadan. That's expected to be on about the 10th of March. And there have been these important talks that have been taking place in Paris in the past week involving the Israelis, also Qatari and Egyptian mediators. I have to say the reports we'd seen in the Israeli media in the past couple of days were less positive about the likely outcome of those. The US State Department had also been more cautious about the prospects of a new deal, saying that it depends on Hamas. What we're hearing from the Reuters news agency this morning is that Hamas officials are now studying what's being called the Paris framework. And according to a source quoted by Reuters who's close to the talks, that deal includes a 40-day ceasefire. It would include the release of Israeli hostages for Palestinian prisoners in Israeli jails at a ratio of 1 to 10, the source says, and that during this longer pause, there would be a big increase in the amount of aid going into Gaza, something like 500 lorry loads a day, and that there would also be repairs allowed to hospitals and to bakeries in Gaza.
Yeah, also President Biden appearing on NBC saying that Israel has agreed in principle not to carry out military activities against Hamas in the Gaza Strip during Ramadan. That's starting in the next 2 weeks. Do you think the fact that the Muslim holy month is coming is focusing minds?
Definitely, and we've had Arab leaders coming out talking about how if this continues, the fighting during Ramadan, this could be a big inflammation for people around the entire region. So that has been something that the negotiators have been very mindful of during the latest round of talks. It's something that Palestinians in Gaza, of course, are really hoping for as well, that there could be some kind of reprieve from the fighting at that time. They could be able to have some form of a break during Ramadan.
Yolan Nell in Jerusalem.